good morning. Today I'm going to evaluate the fable A Silence by Edgar Allan Poe. Before anything else, let's have a brief summary about the fable. So the fable consists of a story of a man listening to a tale of a demon. So the demon is telling tales to get the attention of the man, but then the plan of the demon of getting the attention of the man from the nature has failed. So since the demon had been unsuccessful of his plan, so the demon had cursed the nature in order for the man to hear nothing from the nature to get what he had planned. So since as a further explanation about it, in this world, the demon will do anything to get anyone's attention. And this implies in the there fable are three characters present in the fable. So first thing that we will talk about is the first man, who is the narrator, who is the one watching or observing the story. And the second one is the second man. So the second man is the one who is listening to the story of the demon. He is the one who had been part of the plan of the demon to catch the attention. And lastly, for the characters, the demon itself, who is the one telling about the tale and at the same time getting the man's attention as well as observing the man's attention as he is telling the tale. So the demon basically is really trying hard to catch the man's attention to be able for the man to lost his attention about the There nature. Are two characterizations present in the fable. So the first thing that is present is the protagonist. The protagonist is the main character of the fable. So the protagonist of the fable is the man, since he is the one. He has nothing to do with the conflict of the story, with the rising part of the story, wherein the man is the only one to do the good thing in there. He is just observing what he is interested about the nature. And the other thing that is a characterization in the fable is the antagonist, which is the demon. The demon is the antagonist of the story or the villain of the fable, since he had done all his things to get the attention, to lure out the attention of the man from the nature. So if you are not the antagonist of the story, you have nothing to do to the conflict of the story or to the conflict of the fable. So as what I have observed and analyzed in the fable of Edgar Allan Poe, the protagonist of the story is the man in the river, while the antagonist of the story or the enemy or the villain of the fable is no other than the demon. In the fable, there are four conflicts I have found in the present in the fable. So the first thing is the external. So as I go over it, there are three external conflicts found in the fable: the demon versus the man versus the nature, and the demon versus the nature. So there are three external conflicts present in the fable. And the last conflict that is present in the fable is the internal conflict, wherein the man is against himself. Is against himself. So desolation. That's it. So let me talk first about the first conflict, which is the man versus the demon versus the man. So as what I have summarized about the fable, it is the demon who is really trying his best to catch out the attention of the man. And as what the conflict resulted, still the demon is not successful on his plan on getting out the attention of the man. On the other hand, the second conflict is the man versus the nature. So the man versus the nature, in this part wherein the demon had already cursed the nature, wherein the man had nothing to hear about from the nature. So there began the conflict between the man and the nature. The man had already the thoughts of and wondering about why is the nature having not any sounds, why is there complete any silence. That's why the fable is titled Silence, because there in that part of the conflict, the man had already the thought, the man had already doubt, the man had already questioned himself why the nature is silent, why there is nothing he can hear from it. While on the third conflict, wherein the demon versus the nature, it is the part wherein the demon had the difficulties of getting the man's attention, of the of having the trouble on getting the man, of being unsuccessful on getting the man's attention. There in that part started the other conflict, which is the man versus the nature. So the man versus the nature wouldn't happen if there's nothing, or if there's no conflict between the demon and the nature. So basically the demon cursed the nature, and their silence began, that the man had questioned himself why there is silence, and there the all the three conflicts are connected. And lastly, on the internal on the internal conflict wherein the man is against himself, well, in that part the man had already questioned himself. It is a question that is pointing on why is there complete silence in that part, in that area wherein there is lots of there's a lot of question hanging up in the man's mind, that is created upon the situation he has in. That's how the conflict of the fable is connected. So within the first conflict, which is the demon versus the man, there is no other extended conflict, which is the conflict between the demon and the nature. And lastly, on the last conflict of the external of the fable, it's external summary of the fable, which is the man versus the nature. That conflict wouldn't happen without the second one. So lastly, in the internal the last part, which is internally, which is the man will really question himself, will be really the last thing, the last conflict that is present in every or fable. It depends on the story also. It depends on the author as well as the author, since the author is the one who's in charge in making all the conflicts possible. The setting, right, of where he speaks is a dreary region in Libya, and on the borders of the river Zaire, where there no exists quiet nor silence. So that's the setting of the fable. Resolution of the fable is a quite happy ending for the demon, since he had managed to change the man and to have his attention. The demon went back to his grave with a smile on his face. So that's the ending of my point of view in the fable is very simple. When a man is drugged and challenged by life, there are certain circumstances that you are challenged, or you are to face. And in the fable, and as how the man faced his curiosity and interest in life, as well as many doubts and questions, the man proved that there is a limitation of what we can do, and that is not our weakness or either an advantage, but it is for us to understand what we could do, how we could do for ourselves. That's all, and thank you.